Another week of MCEOtalk is here, and I'm finally back after a 2-week hiatus, and there's no women on this time.
Uh-oh.
I apologize in advance to the viewers for the ugliness tonight. Yeah, we are just, this is a pretty crew, huh? Whew. Anyway, you know, I have to say, this is going to probably be my favorite episode because I have 3 of my best friends on here, and we talk all the time. Obviously, you guys know that. Hopefully, our viewers out there who don't know that, that now do. So, a little bit about tonight. It kind of stems off of the fact that are people still anticipating our people?
I think so. That's what it looks like on Twitter.
All right. Well, let's see. I want to see if we're live yet. It says we're live. We're broadcasting, fellas.
Is there a delay or something?
I don't know. Maybe people haven't clicked in yet. Here, I'm gonna tweet the link out before I start. Before I keep talking, I don't want to say all these nice things about you and no one hears them.
We lost to eternity.
Someone will see it.
Someone somewhere somehow.
Don't these go on that YouTube thing?
What's YouTube? I've never heard of it.
The YouTube thing.
The YouTube's interwebs.
Katie just said we're live. She's watching it downstairs.
Yay!
Yeah, we are live. We
Okay,
are
good.
live. Katie's watching downstairs.
Thank
Hi,
you,
Katie.
Katie.
Hi, Katie.
I don't hear any more random shouts from downstairs.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, there must have been a little bit delay. I mean, I know that Google Hangouts was having a really hard time the other day. Fanzo was saying something about that, like, I don't know, it wasn't working and just real wonky.
Google Hangouts wasn't working?
No.
No.
Shocking. I think I just dropped one of the the biggest shockers of the year. All right, there we go. So the viewers are going up now. So now we have some viewers in here. Perfect.
Hey, 5 people are watching, right?
6, man, 6. Oh,
All right.
5. Hey, you know what? It's okay. For those 5 people, we love you. Anyway, these are, my name is Vincenzo, for those of you that don't know. This is my panel of fantastic friends. We are the Fantastic Four tonight. The Corona sign is back, just for you, Cody. The meerkat sign here is from my buddy Steven and Caesar over at Meerkat Signs. They sent me that. Really cool. I got back from Texas, and that was waiting for me, and I was so excited. So I told them I'd show it. There it is. Told them I'd show it on air. Anyway, so guys, tonight we're going to talk a little bit about reinvesting in relationships, and it's something that we talk about all the time. For everyone watching, this is not scripted at all tonight. There's absolutely 0 questions. We're just going to talk, so it's going to be a little different than the rest of our shows. But let's kind of just talk a little bit about reinvesting in relationships and what it means to us. That's what the rest of the Twitter world is going to be talking about right now. What do you guys think it's all about? Because I know that when I started talking reinvest in relationship, and I know we have like Ted Rubin, it's like return on relationship, and there's all these other people that are return on this and reinvest in that, but reinvesting in a relationship, what have we done? I just want to talk about us. I don't care about anybody else. Like, what have we done? Let's tell everyone else a little bit about our story. Like, what are we doing, and what have we done to reinvest in the initial relationships? I'm going to start with Barrows because I've known Barrows the longest, and he's in proximity. He's closest to me geographically, and I've actually on the panel. He's the only one that I've met in real life or in physical world. So Barrows, what are you doing? What are we doing as a group to reinvest in the relationships we started?
I think one of the things that jumps out to me. Hold on a second. I'm getting a little bit of an echo.
We thought it was going to be Enzo.
Yeah. Hold on. Okay. I don't know. There's got an echo. Anyways. So yeah, I cannot. You know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. So one of the cool things for me is when we started all talking to each other and having this conversation. I mean, when I met Vincenzo, it was early, well, I'd say I guess late last year, and I said, hey, I really like what you're doing, etc. In a conversation, and we went ahead and started to chat, and I automatically knew I wanted to work. And then slowly but surely, see if the echo is gone. Oh, great, it is. Slowly but surely, we started talking with more and more people. And what I found about the difference, too, I think, in reinvesting in relationships, I guess, versus, again, I like them all, let's be really clear, is when we started talking, we started figuring out what we could do to help other people. Because it wasn't just about these one-on-one relationships. It started to turn into, what can we do to help this person or that person? It was maybe two people saying, how can we help this person? So now it's this two-on-one conversation and this ongoing thing. And then suddenly, before I know it, we're all talking all the time on Twitter DMs, and then eventually becomes Slack. And I think it's just so cool because it's this sharing that's happening on a daily basis, and it's intentional, but it's completely organic. And you know, you can't get that without reinvesting in relationships and putting relationships first.
Nope, we can't hear you, Enzo. How about Cody goes next?
No, you're absolutely right, and it was like it was funny because we had been talking back and forth for, I don't know, online. We had met in like different chats, Buffer Chat, and some other different chats that were going on, and you know, it was funny because I was like, oh, who's this Chris Barrows guy? And then we finally reached out to each other. Like, we just kind of manned up and was like, let me just reach out to this dude. He's really cool. And you know, the same thing happened with Cody, and the same thing happened with Ben. It's funny. It just happened with Chris and I first, but it was like taking that first step. It's almost like going on a date for the first time, asking a girl out. All right, I know it's weird. Let's just bear with me. It's like, okay, there's these cool people I'm talking to online, but is it weird if I reach out to them, like DM or in another manner, to get a hold of them and talk beyond this? And I don't want to say it was a novel concept, but I think right around the time you and I connected, Chris, I don't think it was as big of like a phenomenon as it's becoming now. Like, there's a lot more of this, you know, reinvesting in relationships going on. There's a lot of people talking about it now. I know that Matt Hannaford, Amanda, and Joel Renner, the three of them started Social Road Trip, which is basically the go-between between our digital life and then our physical life. And they have we'll talk more about Social Road Trip later on, but it's funny now, like everybody's talking about it now. And I want to say that you and I started it, Chris, but I don't know. I can't take I'm sure we can't take the credit. But
no, I think the bottom line is, I think what happened, at least for me, is there was some kind. It was a change for me. So I don't want to. I would never say I started anything. I think it's like, you know, Al Gore invented the internet, apparently. You know, it's hard to take credit for some things, but and I don't think that's what any of us are about. I think what's important is what's happened, and I think the reality is people are connecting. And like, as you said, it's not necessarily in real life, but it's just face-to-face. People are taking, they're going from behind 140 characters and getting face-to-face and shaking hands and giving hugs. And that's powerful. And I think that's what it's all about. And I mean, if we want to take social is not just an online thing. Social is an offline thing. So take social media offline with a hug, with a handshake, and I think you're going to go a long way, and it's going to just empower you and those relationships you're building all the more.
And so Cody, you know, when Cody and I started our relationship offline, or off of just the 140 characters in some Twitter chats, I think it was Buffer Chat, Cody, right? I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, we met on Buffer Chat a while ago, but we didn't really take it a step further until later.
Yeah, and so go ahead. I'll let you be, because I know you had some pretty cool experiences offline with some individuals, right? Recently, especially with your road trip.
Yeah, and I think I mean, you guys were a big part of that. I've been on social for a long time. I've been working with various social media platforms since probably about 2007, 2008 when I started my first company. But a lot of that was just, you know, marketing for small businesses and stuff. I didn't put a lot of effort into my personal account, mainly because I didn't feel like people really being social on social media. Like they're just all these links flying everywhere, and you try to talk to somebody and they don't really want to respond or anything. But then I met you guys, and it was like, all right, this is what I've been looking for on social media. Is like people that want to actually interact, like you guys said, past the 140 characters, and do a little bit more and help each other out. So after I met you guys, shortly after that, Meerkat came out, and I mean that was another huge tool for getting to know people. Really, the people that live behind those little profile pictures, which sometimes it turns out they're completely different than you would expect. Not always bad. But and then me and Katie went on our cross country trip, and we met up with a couple people going on our trip, and we've just kept going. And we're going to meet Barrows and Vincenzo this weekend. We had Herbie Marin from Meerkat come down and get on the Big Rigs and Pancakes show a couple weeks ago. So that's really my thing is getting to meet people outside of Twitter and everything, and really working on projects together like we are.
Yeah, and you also from Germany, George, right? Didn't he send you like some whiskey and stuff?
Oh yeah, man. That was so Bjorg Meyer. You guys can look him up on Twitter. He owns one of the top-rated bars for I think 2008 and 2009. It's called De Lion, and we actually met him on Meerkat one night. Me and Katie were just streaming, and he came in and we talked to him a bunch, and we kept talking to him. And then, like, I think it was about a month ago, he was like, hey, I'm going to send you a bottle of scotch. And Katie was like, surprise me, send whatever you want. And he sent me a super nice bottle of scotch, and he sent Katie a really nice bottle of gin. But it's just stuff like that. Like, that amazes me. Like, that's the kind of stuff I like to see on social. Like, people going that extra step.
Yeah, and you know what? Like those are just a few experiences, and that's all within the past couple months, right? And that's not even over a long period of time. And I'm not gonna cut you off at all. But I think that over a longer period of time, this is where it's going. It's being social again. It's not just, hey, I'm behind my keyboard clacking away, and I'm in some Twitter chats, and I talk to people online, and I know their name, but then I'm kind of done with them, right? It kind of ends right there. I mean, the fact of the matter is we talk to each other pretty much from the moment we get up in the morning through the night, and for some people like Ben, the morning comes too soon because he's on the West Coast, and 3 o'clock in the morning when we're already slacking each other, Ben is like, what's going on here? But go ahead, Ben. I'll let you tell a story about how we kind of connected, because I thought our connection was kind of cool too.
Well, I don't know if it's the most amazing thing, but all right. So.
Oh, thanks, bro.
No, just kidding. So the funny thing is, okay, I there's no secret. I love a lot of Italian things. And so when I see a guy named Vincenzo, I'm like, oh, I wonder if he actually speaks Italian. And sure enough, he does. I'm like, hey, cool. So where are you from? And you're like, oh, I'm not even born here. So it's really cool kind of getting to know you as a person. And then we get thrown into a group DM by Carlos Gill. And for the next, I'd say, 3 or 4 weeks, my phone lasted 3 hours during the day before I had to recharge it. It was absolutely crazy and ridiculous. I loved it, but it was crazy and ridiculous. But, I mean, quite honestly, we just kind of started talking more and more after that. And it was pretty interesting because then my wife starts watching you, Meerkat. She's probably your biggest fan and loved to request Backstreet Boys songs and everything else. And, it just kind of went from there. To kind of go to the question as far as, the reinvesting in relationships, I love Ted Rubin. I love what he does. Great guy. I like to reinvest in relationships a little bit better than the return on relationships, for the sole fact that return on relationships is all about what you get out of something, whereas reinvestment is what you're putting into it. That's a huge thing for me, and I think that's why, especially the 4 of us and, all the other guys that are involved with, kind of our group, that's what's really made the big difference, and really what brought us together is the fact that it's not about what we're getting out of these relationships. It's not about what I get from you guys. There's very little that you can give me that's, more important than what I can get from my own family, right? But friendship means everything, and just knowing that people are genuine and having those social connections in the world are absolutely priceless. So, I mean, I don't go into these kinds of things, and I'm not friends with you guys because you can give me something or I want to get something out of it. It's about the fact that, hey, I know you, I like you as a person. What can I do to bring value to your life? What can I do to enhance your life? And, that's kind of what it's all about. And that's why I think we get along so well, because that's kind of the mentality we all have. This is not we have a game we're going to play and we're going to win, but we're here because we genuinely have good friendships and good relationships. So, there's a long-winded answer for you.
And I love the fact that you were like, I don't want to knock Ted Rubin. And I'm not. Somebody, I think Matt Hannaford last night said to me, because I was like, R&R was the first time I told them about it. It's not something I have like publicly out there, this R&R concept, but you're right. It's not about me. It's about what can I do for you. And, the biggest or the key factor in our, like you said, Ben, our relationship, our group of people, not just the four of us, but the rest of the guys, has been that, how can I help you? Like, no one's really ever said, hey, I need you to do this for me, and then disappeared. Everyone's really very helpful. You can ask questions at any time. We've taken it a step above for sure. It's been one of the more rewarding relationships, on or offline, that I've ever experienced. I talk to you guys more than I talk to people that I've been friends with since I was, a kid at this point. And that has to do that. And I think, what social does for us is the fact that it can bring people together based on ideas, based on concepts, based on similar interests and hobbies. Like, we're all over the country, but yet we have a lot of similar interests. I mean, we may be different in a lot of ways, but we were brought together somehow, correct? And
Yep.
I just think it's crazy to think at the same time that there's other things going on, again, like Social Road Trip, which, quick shout out to Social Road Trip again, started a group last night on Facebook. So I totally urge anybody watching to go on there and join if you're interested in meeting up with other people when they come to your city, or if you're in a certain city. But there's like 113, 114 people that, or actually it might be up to over 120 now, that people are posting, hey, I'm going to be in this city, I'm going to be in that city, would love to meet up with you. I'm in this city, I live here, would love to have someone. I think Don Garrett, who was one of the kind of in our group in the beginning, I mean, in the BSA, like he's not there anymore, but he was in our group. He was like, yeah, anyone comes to Austin, I have a room for you guys. Like, come crash. I mean, that's just, how cool is that? Everyone praises Airbnb and Hotel Today or Tonight, whatever. All these fancy, crazy apps that are making tons of money. Well, here we are. We're doing the same thing. We're doing it for nothing because we genuinely like people. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah. An app can't replace a friendship.
What's that?
I said an app cannot replace a friendship.
No, of course not. Of course not. I completely agree with you there. We're taking what is kind of surreal or digital. Like, I can't physically reach out to you and shake your hand right now or give you a hug, but I know that at some point when we meet up, it'll be like it'll be like I've known you forever. And someone asked me, and the thing. Go ahead.
Well, I would add that. I apologize for the mic tonight.
So Barrows is gone dead. And we're just gonna watch him. No, we're not gonna watch him. We're just gonna keep talking.
Yeah. Hold on. Okay.
He's back.
Okay. I have no clue what's going on.
Must be all that podcasting.
You know what's so funny?
The
podcast. But on Google Hangout, it like they're going the clip.
It's Google Hangout, bro.
Yeah.
I know.
We just haven't figured out a better solution to this issue.
Well, I was going to say this. What I was going to say is this. I'm going to switch over to my other mic, and then you guys go ahead and go.
So, someone asked me what challenges do you have, and Chris will come back to you whenever you're ready. But someone was like, well, that's hard to do. You can't do that. Like, that's impossible. How are you going to meet these people that you've cultivated relationships with online? Simply put, you find a way, right? Where there's a will, there's a way. One of my coolest experiences offline, actually, I can't even say one of, yes, it's one of, but some of the coolest ones that I've had recently was Times Square, Applebee's. I did some live streaming, and I met my good friend Jason Derulo there, and he sang to me.
Don't forget who took that photo. Don't forget who took the photo of you and Jason Derulo instead of a photo of him. So I'm just going to remind you.
No, but really, like, that was cool because I met up with a bunch of people. It was the first time I met Dom Garrett. It was the second time I met Chris. I met Kathleen DeCosmo. I met Vicky Winters. Or who else did I meet? Oh, Sid and Gary. Martin Jones. Who else was there? There was a bunch of people there. Anyway, I don't remember everybody that was there. But that was so cool. It was like a little meetup, you know? And then I had the opportunity to go down to brand camp, summer brand camp in Texas, and I'm like, oh, who the hell am I going to meet in Texas, right? Well, first of all, I met Jay Baer, hung out with him, had drinks with him, and then I met Kristen Cardos and her husband Gene came down. They drove an hour to come hang out with me for the night.
On their bike.
Anybody that wants to know that offline, it was a hell of a time. But it was just so cool because here's people I talk to every day, here's people I'm interacting with constantly, and I've had people like kind of the cynics. Well, how are you going to meet these people? You can't travel. You can't just pay to fly across the country, all the time. And I'm like, well, you know what? You make a reason for it. And fortunately, I've been blessed to be my own boss at this point in my life, and I have the opportunity to make things work if I want them to. I mean, I'm not saying I'm gonna fly all over creation, but when you want something bad enough, and when you really, that's truly reinvesting in a relationship, right? You go out there, you're investing your own time and money to be somewhere, and just, I don't want to say just to hang out with somebody, but I went there, I made it a point, hang out with Kristen, and you know what? There's things that'll happen for me down the road. I'm not worried about that. Cody, because Cody now is on his own as well.
Yes, sir.
So I want to hear from you, like, what do you think? Like, is it hard? It's got to be hard, right, to meet people, challenges.
Well, like you were saying, no, I'm echoing.
Oh man.
Like you were saying, man, it's you just got to get out there and do it. I'm coming up to Barrows this weekend to meet you and him, and Muffin Mouse Marissa is coming from Zoom, and I'm really excited about it. And like you said, Vincenzo, I quit my job. I'm on my own now. I'm my own boss. And a lot of people think, oh, well, that must be nice, but I don't have a lot of income, and I have to be like really frugal and watch my money and everything. But if you want to go meet people, you just got to do it. Like I don't have the disposable income to do it, but I'm gonna do it because I know going up and meeting Chris and Vincenzo and Marissa and everybody is gonna be way better than probably anything I would have done in those 2 days sitting at home. So I'm just gonna do it, and you know what? Money will find its way, and it's gonna be okay. Everything is always gonna be okay.
I think there's a really important thing that's happening here too, which is the fact that we're talking about all these people, all of us, but also the people we're connecting with. And if you look at it, there's so many people doing these amazing things, just traveling, and when they're in a city, they're saying, "Hey, I'm in X city. Who's around?" And I do have to say, I've seen it more this year than in years past, and I think that there's a lot of reasons for it. There's a lot of people doing this kind of ideas, gaining traction. I can't tell you how many people I've met in New York this year. In particular, I mean, the last person, Sarah from Sprout Social, was in town, and I'm a huge Sprout Social fan. But I would argue I'm a bigger Sarah fan because I love Sarah. I think she's fantastic. So, when she was in town, I went and took her to my favorite coffee shop. Vincenzo knows it because I took him there too. You're my friend if I take you to Kopi. I guess that's how it works. But it was just so great.
Wait a minute. Before you finish this story, I just want you to know, Kopi is like the lower East Side, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Okay. So I was literally all the way out in Times Square. I was hanging out with Auto Girl, Michelle Weissman of Likeable Media. Okay.
Yep.
Completely on the other end of the city. Chris is. I text Chris. He didn't get back to me like fast enough.
I came all the way back. I spent like another however much, surge pricing Uber ride all the way to Kobe just to hang out with you. And you know what? I would do it again 100 times over. Anyway, continue.
Well, you could have taken the ACE line and going right down, and it's like right there. So I'm just saying, you didn't have to take an Uber. It's not that far. It's just called going the subway. But that's your decision to take the Uber. I think you Ubered everywhere on this trip. But no, I think the point is we're all connecting across the board. I think so many people are doing this, and I'm not one to say who started a trend. I think it's just great that whoever did that, this is happening, and people are going and meeting everybody, and they're going into cities. I mean, you've been talking about social road trip. The fact is, I put it out in there today that, hey, I'm going to be in Chicago, and I'm seeing like 10 people when I go to Chicago. I'm fairly certain that someone volunteered me to pay for drinks for all the girls who are going, and unfortunately it's like 9 girls and 1 guy, so I hope they realize that someone was joking when they said that, because I don't have that money. But I'm so excited to go out and see Lucy and Sarah and everyone in Chicago. So I think it's just really cool that this is happening and people are doing it, and people are truly valuing in relationships. So I don't care what phrase you use. The fact is people are valuing relationship and they're putting people first as opposed to themselves. And that's the biggest thing.
Yep. Yeah. Kind of along that same line, I'm going to jump in real quick because this last week I had a training for work for my day job up in San Francisco, and Carlos Gill reached out and he's like, hey, when you're going to be in town, look me up and we'll hang out. So I got a chance to meet him. But then on Snapchat, another guy that I know, Trey Wheeler, really cool guy, and I'll mention him out here in a little bit. He saw me on Snapchat and he sent me a snap. He's like, dude, you're going to be in the Bay Area? Dude, we should totally meet up. All right, cool. I'd only had a few conversations with him, but it was really cool to see someone who's like, hey, I really want to get to meet you. We can kind of chat. So I met him at a BART station. We chatted for like 20 minutes while I was on my way home. It was perfect. And then on the way home, I got a Facebook message from Eric Tung. He's like, dude, I'm in San Jose. We totally got to meet. I'm like, I just passed San Jose. I'm on my way home. It's late. I really would rather be hanging out with you than driving home, but, it's getting late. But, that's the amazing thing is you see more and more of this happening. So I agree with you guys. I mean, when you're social, then the world becomes much smaller, and everywhere you go, you're going to have a friend. And that's what reinvesting in relationships can do, is that you grow this network. We call it social networking, right? And so it's really building a network. You have to do something with it for it to be an effective network. And it's not just what can I get to promote myself or to sell whatever I'm selling, but how can I truly make this social network a social network?
And let me actually I gotta add. Crazy things going on here. I gotta add. We're here on MCEOtalk talk about all this great stuff, and I gotta give a plug to someone else who we all know and love, Chris McEwen, because I just did a case study for Social Media Strategy Summit, and at this, one of the case studies I did was on him and his yo-yo company. And if you look at what he's done with CLYW, I mean, high-end yo-yos, I knew nothing about high-end yo-yos 6 months ago. Now I actually know something about it, and I can tell you just how amazing his company is, because his focus is on people first and building a company brand that makes it the #1, yo-yo lifestyle company. And because of it, he gets sales. So if you want to argue that social doesn't mean sales, well, his company completely disproves that. I'm not saying Chris is making $1 million per year or something, but he's making money, he's making profits, and he's making sales because of social. And if you ever want to ask how he does it, ask him sometime. But Chris McEwen, nicest guy in the world, by the way. No offense to all of you, but Chris McEwen is the nicest guy in the world. And when he, got on social, I mean, he's doing things now that he would have never done 5 years ago. And it's because he connected with different groups of people and started having these conversations. So he's one of the most impressive people in the world to me. And again, as I said, one of the nicest guys. And if you don't know Chris McEwen, go connect with him right now on Twitter, because you won't regret it. And if you have to take a minute away from this, and go connect with him.
Chris has done so many generous things for people he's never physically met. I'm not gonna blow up his spot on here. I think I've done it before. But Chris has put himself out there, I'll say it, financially and for others I know the stories, and to me, that blows my mind because, we're taught from little kids, like, don't talk to strangers, don't take candy from strangers, don't do this, and here's Chris McCoolin, like, he's a yo-yo guy from Canada, and here's a bunch of us that are, just come together one day, and all of a sudden he's sending somebody to South by Southwest on his dime, and then on top of it asked and said to them, I don't want you to do anything for my company while you're down there. Go and have a good time. I mean, that blew me away in so many ways that, it gives you hope for the world, number one, but it also goes to show, like, there was a couple questions on here, and I think, Ben, they were directed at you and I. I forgot exactly who asked it, so I'm sorry if you're watching, but why, Ben said, I talk to you guys more than I talk to people that are in my physical life, and somebody said, why do you think that is? Well, I just gave you a reason. I mean, there it is. People who, I couldn't go and ask a friend of mine, be like, hey, listen, I'm a little short this month. Can you help me get out to a conference I'm going out to in San Diego? They'd be like, screw you, dude. But here's people that I've met online that I've never physically met before. I've never talked on the phone before. We might have had a Google Hangout once or twice, but most of that was Twitter DM. You guys remember when we first started, it was all Twitter DM. So, I can't talk enough about building relationships online. I can't. It blows me away. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, it's just like, it's awe-inspiring that we could take something from a little avatar, 140 characters, and build these great relationships. Like, I've been looking forward to going to Barrows' house for a while now. But I'm genuinely excited to meet Cody. I'm genuinely excited to meet others that are there. I wish Ben would come out, but it's a little bit of a hike for Ben for one night. So
just a few thousand.
But there's a bunch of others that I wish we could all meet up with. So, like, to me, it's crazy. And again, we'll talk about Social Road Trip a little bit later on because that's kind of fits right in here and be about having meetups in different cities. So we'll talk about that. But
this is worth mentioning, by the way.
Go ahead.
When we went out, I saw a really great story about how when Brian Kramer comes to town, how he reaches out to Brian Kramer, and Brian Kramer gets together with him. They go out to it's just not like it's just people like you and I going out and connecting. We're talking from big name to little name. And this is why I say social gives us all the chance to build real relationships. And this is why I think we go back to what you said, and that's why we all connect and talk all the time because, quite frankly, it is real. It's we had that debate earlier today, in real life or face-to-face. I think when it comes down to it, Twitter is in real life. So when I talked to you, when I met you for the first time, Vincenzo, I didn't feel like it was the first time I met you. When I go and see Cody, it's not going to feel like the first time I've talked to Cody. And Cody already knows. I already told him, I can't wait to see you. I'm really excited to meet you. But it's not really, when I say that, it's really not meeting him. I've already met him. And that's the way I genuinely feel about it. And I think that's the way, that's the difference between people who view social as just a tool versus social as real life. And there are two different, maybe there's more than two different types, but there's at least those two different types.
And one of these days, we're going to watch Gladiator together, Chris.
Oh, yes. Well, you could come up and I'll make sure Mary Alice will go nuts because she can't stand it. I've watched Gladiator like 20 times as you and I've discussed, and I think I've got the whole movie memorized at this point. Only movie I've watched more than Gladiator is Cars, and that's because my son watches it.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. I'm right up there with you. But sadly, I've only watched it about 3 times since we talked, so I'm way behind. And so you got to unmute yourself.
Enzo is muted. So
I didn't want to turn into like asking specific questions, but you brought it up, Chris, and it was a question that we posed out to the Twitter fam. Again, for those of you watching, this is a different format than normal. We're 4 friends that know each other, and we are just having a conversation. On the Twitter chat portion of this, question 4 was, is there a difference between real life and digital life? Or, like Chris said, is it all real life? Because for us, and for me, it's real life. there's no difference. Like, I talk about Cody and Ben and Chris and Eric Clark and Jason Yarborough, and all these guys as if they were literally, like, a drive away from me, but nobody realizes that I can't see any of them unless I fly or, take a nice couple-hour drive. I think that the closest, Barrows, you're the closest to me, about an hour and a half-ish away. So is there a difference? And Tim McDonald made a point today in our group, in the social road trip group, because I made a comment about connecting, in real life, and he's like, I look at this as real life. Like, this is real life. And, it was hard to kind of put that across and say, hey, no, I think it's a real life too. It's just kind of it's a way of explaining it to people who don't get our world, because that's the hardest thing, is trying to explain to people. Like, I had a long layover in Charlotte on my way home from Birmingham last Saturday, and it was an overnight layover. So I called Yarby up and I said, pick me. I didn't even ask him. I was like, are you around? He said, yes. I said, pick me up from the airport. Let's tear down the city. He goes, I'll be there. What time do you land? I mean, literally, that was the conversation. We went out, partied till like 5 in the morning. My flight was at 7:45. We woke up at like 6:50 and got, but it was awesome. It was literally, and I get home and my brother asked me, he's like, how do you know all these people? Like, where do you, so to me, it was like, oh, that's a friend of mine. Like, this, yeah, it was just a friend of mine. And he's like, what do you mean a friend of yours? Like, and then like my mom, and then one of my other buddies was like, how do you know these people? And so to me, it's all real life. And I want to know, like, Cody, because like when you met Mike Baltus on Colorado, like, was it? How was it for you? Like, how did it feel? Or I think you met Matt Hannaford too, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's like you said, I don't really see a difference between online life and real life. It's all the same. And I had been talking to Mike for quite a while, so it was like I knew him. I mean, it was really cool too. We got really close to Mike's house, and we were driving through the Rocky Mountains, and we were meerkatting, because that was during our cross country trip, and we were meerkatting the whole thing. And Mike was watching our meerkat and basically gave me directions through meerkat to his house. And we rolled up, man, and he came out, his wife and his daughter came out, and they were in love with Guinness and Jameson, our two huskies. And he had beer waiting for us. We hung out on his patio. We did some more live streams on Meerkat, but we mainly just bullshitted and had a good time. And it was like meeting somebody I already knew, like Chris said.
Yeah, and I think that's the coolest I think that's the coolest thing, is that, like, now I think all of us have met people in real life, or in physical life, right, that we know online. So we've all gone through it. It's just Amanda, I did mention you earlier. Don't give me that garbage. I'm looking at the Twitter stream. You're just like, wait, not to mention me. It is. It's when you step, like, when I walked away from meeting Chris for the first time, I don't know. I was just so, like, I don't want to say it was surreal, but I walked away thinking to myself, whoa, I didn't grow up with him. And I just walked away and I was like, wow, this is like the coolest thing ever. And it only kind of solidified what I already knew, was that, oh, you know what? This is real. Like, for me, that's what it was. It was an experience that I was so happy and so glad that we had, because it was just a cup of coffee. It was maybe 45 minutes before I had to jump on the train and you had to jump on yours. And it was nothing crazy, but it was that type of interaction. It wasn't like I had to sit there and let's go get dinner, or let's go out for an entire night. It was like, hey, yeah, I'm going to see you again. No big deal, right?
Yeah, and I would add that this whole thing, which I find really interesting, because I get this from my wife's perspective. She knows obviously who my friends are and who everyone from Twitter is, but then she became immersed in this world and she made friends. So now my wife is having conversations, with, for example, she's having conversations with Katie. She's having conversations with Jamini. She's having conversations with Drusilla. We got God, I could drop so many names. I can't drop every name, but the point is, she gets immersed in this world, and it's amazing because these conversations happen. And here's a person, also not here right now, but would love to be here, Matt Black. Matt, I talk to all the time because we've been doing this lifestyle section work for Millennial CEO, and I talk to Matt. I've never met Matt in person. I can tell you if I could road game and hang out with him for a day, do it in a heartbeat because I feel like I know the guy so damn well, but again, yet never talked to him in terms of face-to-face, aside from one Skype session. So it's to me it's surreal, but some of these people I think do know me better than people who I see on a daily basis, especially at a place like work, where sometimes there's people who I don't feel that connection with. And I think a lot of us, that's the reason a lot of us like social, because we can build that relationship that we might not be able to build in a workplace, or might not be appropriate in a workplace to some people, depending, I guess, what your attitude is there.
Can we agree that aside from Chris's barbecue that we were talking about earlier, we would all love to have a nice little barbecue on Matt's little terrace there at his condo up in Toronto, right?
Oh yeah,
that
was fantastic looking.
Okay, so funny story, because Amanda's gonna kill me if I don't tell it. So I was down in Charlotte, right? And here's a funny story. I was with Yarby. We were hanging out. It was myself, Yarby, Nikki Wolf, who's also a Twitter friend, and we're at this bar. It was after a Third Eye Blind concert, and everyone knows there's Roxy Digital, Amanda Pensack. She was there at the bar. She saw my photo that I posted of Yarby, aka Jake Gyllenhaal, and she didn't reach out to me because she thought she wasn't sure, and it was kind of funny because then I sent her a DM yesterday or 2 days ago, and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, because we're doing the social road trip thing together, and she was like, you were totally in the exact same bar that I was at the same time, and I was bummed. I was actually bummed out. I didn't get to meet her, and I'm like, I've never met this person in my life, right? I could totally, like with anybody else, you could take it or leave it, right? Like, okay, I ran into somebody at the bar. I was actually bummed. I'm like, I'm in Charlotte. Here's a Twitter person that I've been dealing with online for things, and yeah, we totally missed the ball there. But this is why I think it's so important for things like Social Road Trip that we're creating here, because then when people are coming to different cities, and like we're trying to create awareness. I mean, who knows where this is going to go? This might be an app or something soon, but like, hey, my friends are here. This is what I'm doing. This is where I'm staying. Maybe there are apps out there already. I don't know. I don't really care because I think that this is brand new in my head, and that's all I really care about, and that's all we should all care about. But, yeah, so, Amanda, there it is. I acknowledged your story, okay, or the story. We can tell everybody about it later, but, I wouldn't. And you know what's funny is that I would never want to be in Fresno and not see Ben, right?
That would be weird for you to be in Fresno and not see me because there's nothing to come here for.
No, but I don't want to be in East Bumfuck and miss out on Cody, right? I mean, like,
right.
That would suck.
Why do I have to live there?
Well, you do, man. You live in. Come on. You not?
No,
Wait,
you're right.
Hold on. Let's clear this up. Do you not?
Yeah, I mean, in Northeast terms, yeah, I do.
To be fair, Cody, I'm not going to be that far away from you in like a week because Thomas the Tank, like the whole Thomas experience thing is going to be near you. So I'm actually, I was going to tell you about this later, but yeah, I'm going to be not that far from you.
That's big stuff, man. Thomas is coming to town?
Yeah, Thomas, near you. I don't know how far, but I think close. So
Man.
We'll talk more about it. Probably.
I'm kind of glad I'm on the West Coast right now. Otherwise, we would definitely be there and wasting money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money. Trust me. I don't
Thomas
like
is not cheap.
tickets.
Did you see that Snapchat about the train museum with that Thomas toy?
Yes.
Like $23 for a freaking Thomas toy, man. Jeez.
But here's the great thing. I gotta say, we're having this conversation. We've had this conversation multiple times, but I think this is the first time I think we're doing this face to face. But this is the same conversation I would have with any other parent who I've been friends with for ages. And so we're seeing what this relationship concept from social in action is. Look, we're not going to make this the Thomas the Tank hour. This is not Thomas the Tank chat. But there could be a chat for that probably. There's enough of us.
Could be.
We all know the show way too well.
Parent gripe chat.
Yes, parent gripe chat. That could be a thing.
All right, I think we're done derailing this for you, Enzo.
Yeah. Please take it away from us.
I was kind of interested in this Thomas the Tank, Thomas the Train. I don't have kids. Well, actually, Cody and I don't have children, so we're good. We're good. You guys?
I have 2 dogs.
I have a dog too. She's like
those are my kids.
Well, my dog is like my child.
I got a question for you, Vincenzo, and I want to bring this up. So,
all right, this isn't why I started the podcast, buddy.
Yeah. Hey. This may not be, but I'm asking you a question. So, when it comes to all this, though, and there's like a lot of great tools out there. I'm wondering what everyone's using kind of to help maybe keep, there's ways to keep track, but what is everyone doing to kind of keep track of some of these relationships? And that sounds really bad, but I think there just could be so many people. So what is the interest level of, like, for example, I've got a Twitter list for higher education people. And to me, that's important because if I want to see higher education folks and connect, it's easy for me to go find them. Because, again, people change Twitter handles. Some Twitter handles are harder to remember than others, and there's so many people. So what are all of us using? I'm really interested. I mean, I know a lot of people use, like, Nimble, but, there's a lot of great tools. So I'm wondering what everyone else is using, and I guess I'll start with you because I called you out first with, I got a question for you.
I'm definitely not using enough tools, so to speak. Twitter lists is probably the only thing I use to keep track of things. But I also genuinely am interested in who I talk to, so I don't feel like I need, and this is not to knock you, Chris, at all. I don't feel like I need to put people in a box because I feel like I'm already attracting the ones that I want to talk to, and I'm sure they're, I'd love to hear the rest of you guys if you feel, but I don't think that for my workflow, like, I can't handle another list or another tool just to manage the relationships that I have, but I also don't feel like it's and hear me out on this, I don't feel like I need to check it off on my list. Okay, I talked to Chris Barrows today, check. Okay, I talked to Cody today, check. Okay, I talked to Ben today, check. And again, I'm not knocking it if that's how you have to do it, but for me personally, like, if I want to talk to you, or if our relationship is worthy of that, I'm going to talk to you whenever we want, like, I'll reach out to Ben. I may not talk to Ben for, a couple days, not because I don't want to, but things get busy, whatever it may be, and then I'll just shoot a message, like, hey, buddy, what's going on?
Exactly, right.
And then we just go on. I mean, but that's the beauty of social. We're using Slack, FaceTime, Google Hangouts, email, whatever technologies at our disposal. But for me personally, it's not a checking off the list type thing. Like, to me, if I have to check it off the list, then you're a client and you're not a friend. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's a long and short of the answer. I do think, though, that using a Twitter list for people that you are interested in seeing things about that's great, and I do use that a little bit, not nearly as much as I wish I did. I know, Chris, you're like the king of using Twitter lists and segmenting things, but for me, it just doesn't work as much as.
I won't go on my normal Twitter list rant how Twitter needs to frickin' amp up on Twitter lists, I promise.
Great article, by the way. You should tweet that out.
Cody, what does Cody use?
Sorry. I mean, I'm kind of the same way as you, Vincenzo. Like, I don't use tools to remind me to do something or to talk to somebody. I'm more of I really like to take the authenticity to, a whole new level. Like, you generally, you won't see me tweeting if I'm asleep or if my phone or I'm not near a computer. I don't schedule. I'll schedule something on Buffer, but I probably scheduled it 10 minutes before it actually went out. I don't pay for Buffer, so I have the free Buffer where I don't get tons of scheduling power. But I just, like you said, Vincenzo, if I want to talk to somebody, or if we should be talking, we're gonna talk. I shouldn't have to make a list to remember to go talk to people. That would make me feel fake, and so I can't really think of a tool that I use to, like, verify that or anything, because I don't use a lot of tools, and now I'm just rambling.
No, I think that, listen, I think any answer, there's no bad answer here. I think Chris genuinely was just wondering what people do to like manage these different things. And again, like Cody and myself, to me, and okay. So here's the thing with Cody and I, we're both own our own businesses now, kind of entrepreneur life. So for us, it's a little easier to, hey, just jump into conversations. Whereas maybe, I'm not going to speak for Ben or Chris, but saying because you guys have a 9-to-5 job, maybe you do need to carve out an hour of the day to be like, all right, I'm going to give this hour to Twitter and my buddies and whatnot. I don't know, Ben. What about you? You have a 9-to-5 like Barrows. How do you do it?
Well, a lot of mine is just kind of throughout the day. As I see a notification pop up, I try to respond to every mention I get, at least in some degree or another, and just talking to the people that take out time to talk to me. I'm going to try and interact to a certain degree. Not that I get 100 mentions a day, but there are some days where it gets kind of crazy, and I just try to keep that with me and just be genuine and do unto others as I would expect them to do unto me, right? So it's reaching out when they reach out to me. As far as tools, I use Buffer occasionally. Obviously, use it for some work things, but for my personal stuff, I'll use Buffer. But kind of like Cody said, I usually schedule things out like at the most a day or two in advance. I don't plan that well, so going any further is kind of crazy. I'm like, I'd spend more time setting my Buffer than it would take me to just do it myself. So, I use Buffer occasionally. I know we were talking earlier before we came on about Zoom. That's something I've started checking out. Really, really interesting stuff. But that kind of takes it to a whole different level. That's not a tool to promote engagement as much as it is just to monitor chatter. So that's kind of a whole different topic, but it is one of those tools that's out there. I think the best tools you can use are just your newsfeed. Follow people you actually care about. Go through there, and like Chris does, he's the list master when it comes to Twitter, and that's where you're going to get the most value, I think.
I would add with Zoom too. I think one thing that Zoom does, because I'm obviously a huge fan of Zoom. I know Muffin Mouse is here, so she's a big fan of it, obviously for multiple reasons. I think with Zoom, what's great is it shows you these people who are clearly impacting, sharing your content because they're influencing your accounts, and I think there's value there because it shows me people who I might want to connect with because they're showing interest in me, and I want to return that favor, and I want to return that love. So I think that's a huge value of Zoom, to figure out who these people who are ambassadors for you,
right?
And to take people who are ambassadors for you in your personal brand or in your business. Because these two ultimately intertwine. Whether you like it or not, to me that's going to happen. People are going to look to you if you're a business owner as the CEO or a proprietor, whatever it is, and your personal brand intermixes. So, you got to be aware of who your influencers are on both sides and say thank you. And again, the lists are valuable, but again, I think you put it really well there in the fact that lists are valuable for seeing what people are up to. They're reminding you to keep in touch with keep making sure you are keeping in touch with certain people. It's great to keep you on point, but the conversations I think are still authentic. I need them because of a 9-to-5. I have to get myself quick. I got to get, I got 10 minutes here during this hour where I can get online. And I will say, because of you guys have all mentioned Buffer, I will schedule out stuff. As I kind of said to Britt of Mass Amplify, fantastic podcast, by the way, everybody. Check it out. I automate to engage, and the way I describe that is I will automate content, but I plan it around the fact that if I have it automated or sent to go out, I'm able to respond to it. I will not schedule anything overnight. I don't believe in scheduling everything right. If I can't reply to it, what's the point? It's not going to be social.
Bingo.
And I mean, going back to the Zoom thing, like I'm just looking through the influencer, the Z points, and so for those of you that don't know what Zoom is, it is a analytics tool. I'm not going to go too much into it. I'm not going to pitch it to you. I'm going to let you check it out yourself. At Muffin Mouse, if you are interested in an analytical tool that will, I think, change the way you look at analytics. But so I have people on this influencer list for tonight's chat, like Steven Caggiano, Kristen Cardos. Outside of myself, we have Amanda, Roxy Digital, Stephen Ford, Matt Hannaford, Josh McCormick, Rachel Miller, Adam Dintz, Marissa Ferraccio, Muffin Mouse, Ben Phillips, Brian Fanzo, Nikki Fika, Jacob Hedenberg from Australia, Cody Stevenson, Tim McDay. I mean, we have all these names, and so like for me, because I have a community based around this MCO talk, and whatever your community might be, I can sit here and kind of analyze it with Zoom. And I can say, wow, here's some names that I haven't popped up. Lydia Nicole, Brandon Falk, Aubrey Lorraine, Tom Reed. These are people, like, I don't know them, but now I'm like, you know what? They're interested in what I'm talking about. Now let me.
I'm glad you mentioned Tom Reed. I'm glad you mentioned Tom Reed, by the way. I got to interrupt and say this. Tom Reed, fantastic guy who reached out recently and really getting into Twitter chats and just really gung-ho, love what he's doing. So, you know, I'm glad that he pops up on that list.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, a lot of these names aren't names that our group is constantly in with, like Gloria Law, Andrew Pelletier, Stephanie Leisha. Like, I don't know these people. Now I'm using this tool to tell me, you know what, these might be, and they're pretty, you know, they got a decent little score here. Again, the score might be vanity, but it's still telling me that they're actively engaged in this conversation that we're having tonight. So now I know, and I'm going to go in after this, and I'm going to go and engage, follow people that were actively engaging with me. And again, I'm using Zoom to do that for me. I do this every week with Zoom. This is probably the only tool I use between Zoom, Buffer. You know, Buffer, I do schedule some posts, but a lot of my engagement is authentic, and I use my phone for most of my engagement. That's where most of my conversations happen, is from the phone. But I use Buffer to help me post some stuff. It is what it is. So yeah, there's Zoom. I mean, guys, check it out. There's geolocation features, so you can actually say, hey, there's people in this area. You really want to go out and meet somebody? Here it is. There's people tweeting about this topic that you're interested in this area. Perfect, right? Anyway, I don't want to keep going on about that. I do want to drop this bomb on everybody because we're nearing the bottom of the hour, the top of the hour, whatever. I want to know from you guys, because this is something that nobody knows about. Nobody. I'm telling you right now, nobody. There's three people that, okay, not nobody. There's three people that know about it, besides myself. Matt Hannaford, Amanda, and Joel Renner. We are going to start a chat this Sunday. It's going to be a social road trip chat. It's going to be a half an hour on Sunday evenings. It's going to go from about 8:45 to 9:15, purposely done that way. And we are literally going to talk about where were you last week, and where are you going the following week. And it's going to be a conversation just based around where you're traveling to. Are other people in the area? Are other people traveling out somewhere else? So we kind of get it's not even, I don't even want to call it a Twitter chat. It's really not. It's just a conversation. It's a roundtable discussion, so people know. Like, let's put it out there. This is where I'm going this week. Who's going to be out there? And I think having a forum for that, like the social road trip chat, whatever we officially call it. I'm going to be releasing a graphic a little later on tonight for it. But having something like that, like, to me, it's invaluable to have. And I'd love to know what you guys think, starting with Cody. Like, what do you think about a chat like that, knowing who's going to be around, like your friends, other people, and knowing like what's up?
I think that's awesome. I know we've been talking about how this is really new and we're all trying to meet in real life, but the last decade, I've met people online and gone places, and we had something very similar like that in a BMW club I was a part of. So I'm completely behind that, and like you were saying earlier, if anybody's in my area, if anybody's traveling through southern Pennsylvania and they need somewhere to stay, or if you have an issue or something, hit me up and I'll definitely jump in this chat and get my info out there and let you guys know where I'm at. So I think it's a great idea, man.
Thanks, bud. Ben, what about you, bud?
Yeah, I think it's going to be exciting. I'm always excited for another chat. I know, who was it? I just favorited their tweet. Lindsay, yeah, she's like, all right, another chat. I'm like, yeah, me too, another chat. But, it's cool because it's more personal, because it's everyone contributing, as opposed to, oh, hey, here's one or two people, we're going to listen to what they have to say and their tweetable quotes for the next hour. This is more of a, people sharing where have they been, where are they going. It makes life interesting. We all care about those kinds of things. We all care about people's adventures and their journey in life, and so why not? Why not have something away from the mundane, rehashed chats, and just have something a little bit more personable and more of a hangout? Hey, Google will pick it up, right?
Yeah, right. Well, this is not going to be a Google hangout. It's 8:45 Eastern for somebody that asked. The reason we're doing it 8:45 is just one of those times to kind of get people actually like, oh, it's 8:45. It's not 8 o'clock. It's a half hour. It's real quick. If you want to continue the conversation afterwards, continue the conversation afterwards. There's going to be no set questions. There's no. It's just to get people talking to each other and getting them, again, like I said, just to know what's going on, who's going places. You know, like it would have been great for me to put it out there to a group of people that was interested. Like I can tweet it out and say, hey, I'm going to be in San Diego June 29th to July 7th, and whoever might see it. But how about if I have people that are actually interested in meeting other people that are going to be listening, and then, you know what, I'm going to get a lot more engagement there, and people are like, wow, yeah, I might be there, or I'll be there. And, you know, just from putting it out there in different circles, like where I'm going to be, like especially with this forum, people are popping up left and right, like, oh, I'm going to be there too. Oh, I'm going to be here during that day. Like, let's catch up. Like, let's do this. So it's just crazy how social allows that to happen. And Chris, I'll let you talk because I know you're ready to bite my head off. You want to say something here?
No, not at all. I would just say, yeah, no, I think it's great that you can just have chats that are a conversation. I think that's the approach I've always taken with Twitter chat. Any Twitter chat that I've ever been running, that's how it's worked. It hasn't been guest focused because, and I'm not knocking the guest focused concept, but I think to focus on the community and to let the conversation flow, it's more organic, it's more engaging, and that's something I'm more excited to be a part because it's going to be different every week. I'm going to like it in all likelihood. So I like that approach, and I think the traveling component is great, especially because, like I told you, I'm traveling. I'm traveling end of July the last 2 weeks. So I mean, when it comes to that, I could now. It's great to be able to go back and say, oh, I got to meet so and so this week. I got to meet so and so, and then also I could envision, and you might already have these ideas, but it's like, so where are you going next week? And those sort of questions, which I imagine come up and having people talk about, and then suddenly it's like, oh, I'm not that far from there. So now you're also have this chance to create new potential connections that never would have happened if the person didn't attend this conversation. And I'm glad you mentioned Joel because I'm a huge Joel fan. Joel knows it. Joel, you're the man. And I look forward to working a little bit more. Nothing I could say right now about Joel in particular, but in a month or so, I'll have news about some fun stuff I'll be doing with Joel. Sort of social media focused, sort of not, but I really look up to Joel, and Joel's someone who's really kind of jumped into the social world and really blown it away as far as I'm concerned. So, and he's going to be a guest on YA Social, cheap plug, in 2 weeks. Just a heads up for anyone who's listening.
One of my favorite podcasts.
Greg Weiss's tweet: road trip, reach online, and develop true relationships in person. Cool, right? Thank you, Greg, for that little tidbit. I do want to give 2 shout-outs. One is to the YS Social podcast, in which I've been actively involved with. Thank you, Chris, for everything you've done there. Average Joe to CEO, awesome. Just what you've done there to kind of level the playing field from for everybody has been fantastic. I love listening to it. It's one of the easiest podcasts to listen to. The other shout out I want to give is to Cody and his new podcast, BRP Podcast. Big Rigs and Pancakes. It is not about social media. It's not about technology. It is about life. It's a lifestyle podcast. Highly recommend you listen to it. Cody, a quick shout out. You got 30 seconds. Tell us about the BRP podcast.
Yeah, so we just launched the second episode today with the ladies, my wife and her best friend, and the co-host is girlfriend Allie. Like Vincenzo said, it's not about social media. It's not about technology or anything. It's just about connecting with people and learning from them and hearing their stories and what they're going through. So we're just really trying to build a community of like-minded people that just want to grow.
Cody, I'm excited for you. I know it's something that you've been working on for a while. So I'm very happy about that. And I'm going to give a shout out to Ben. Ben introduced me to the Sunday Dinner Pledge. So I'm going to have Ben tweet that out if you guys can take the Sunday Dinner Pledge. It's about every person that does sign the pledge for the Homestead Senior Care Foundation, or let's see, for every person that does the pledge, right?
Correct.
The Homestead Senior Care Foundation is going to donate $1 to Meals on Wheels Association.
Yeah, they're going to donate $1 to the Meals on Wheels America for every person that signs the pledge to have a Sunday dinner with their family and a senior loved one at least once a month. And what they're going to do is they're going to match they're going to donate that dollar up to $20,000 now through the end of July. And it's really about kind of taking back, the family dinner and how important it is to really, emphasize the importance of relationships, family or otherwise. Those people close to you in your close-knit network. Take some time out Sunday nights, in between or shortly before or shortly after our road trip chat. Just have that time with someone, especially a senior loved one, because they can benefit from it the most. So I'll tweet that out here in the next little bit.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So, guys, thank you, honestly, for being on, because, we pulled this together. It was something I've been wanting to do, but I do appreciate you guys for being on. It's awesome. I love you all, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. It's no bullshit. I truly do. And thank you for everyone for joining us tonight. I know we're a little bit over, but we could seriously go on and talk forever. So again, thank you for joining us.
That's kind of how.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that's kind of how this all. I was gonna say that's kind of how this all started. It started with these late night kind of conversations. So I think it's ironic that it goes over a little bit into that sphere, because it's really where all the relationships and conversations began. So don't mean to interrupt there, but I do think it's an appropriate kind of. It's appropriate. End note to say that,
It's totally appropriate for us. I don't mind talking all night. We're probably going to talk as soon as we stop this broadcast. We'll talk a little more, but I want to let everyone else off the hook that's probably still watching. There's about 15 or so individuals still watching. So thank you. Next week, I haven't had it confirmed yet, but I may have a special guest on next week. If you guys are interested in Instagram, you may know who I'm talking about. If not, then you're going to have to find out a little bit more. So on behalf of MCEO, myself, MCEOtalk, and my co-host who's not here tonight because she's a female, this is the He-Man Woman Haters Club, signing out. Have a great night.